Hi, you're watching Floyd Steinberg's YouTube channel, and look what I've got here. It's the new Zynthian version 5, and in this video I'm going to show you how to build this, how to install the software, and how to create music on this. So brace for a long video. Here we go. Okay, so this parcel arrived today. Let's open it and see what's inside. So we've got the satchel containing a power supply unit. Here's a promo t-shirt, nice. Zynthian is a DIY kit. You can't buy it readily assembled, so here are 4 packages containing the screen, the case, the main board and the control board. Okay, the box with the screen also contains some ribbon cables and some screws. And here's the case. They radically redesigned the exterior, and I'm all for it. Unpack the power supply, and now let's start building this synth. Here are all the parts side by side. This here is a Raspberry Pi 4, here's the main board, the control board, the CPU cooler, some screws, rubber feet, and the keyboard, and the case. Assembling this takes roughly 2 to 3 hours. In this part of the video, I'll just follow along the build instructions found on the Zynthian wiki. Link is in this video's description. Okay. Make some space, and then begin by attaching the rubber pads to the bottom of the lower case part. Next, let's install the display ribbon cable on the Raspberry Pi. It's the widest ribbon cable. The blue part of the cable needs to face outward the main board like this. Push the cable into the socket gently using both your hands, and it should slide in smoothly. Now the cooler or the thermal block. Spot the cooling strip and cut it into tiny pieces using a ruler and scissors. The pieces need to be 27 x 20 mm, 11 squared millimeters, 11 x 9 mm and 6 x 6 mm in size. Once you cut them out, remove the blue tape and place the strips onto those tiny islands on the thermal block. Once that is done, remove the transparent protective tape as well. Push the thermal block onto the Raspberry Pi firmly so that the thermal strips connect to all the important chips. Then, turn the Raspberry Pi around and fix the thermal block using 4 M2.5 screws. Now stick the large remaining thermal pad onto that tiny tower on the thermal block. Don't remove the protective foil yet. Now get the main board and place it on the table like this. Place the Raspberry Pi on it upside down so we can push its GPIO port onto the socket on the main board. Make sure the ribbon cable is running through that hole in the PCB like this. Then fix the thermal block to the main board using 4 M2.5 screws. Next, we'll install the main board in the bottom part of the case. Get the case, then remove the protective foil from the thermal strip, then slide in the PCB and secure it in place using 7 M3 screws. Next, get the SD card adapter. Unlock the socket for the SD card adapter using both hands. Then push in the ribbon cable with the blue strip facing downwards. Again, this is best made using both hands. Once the cable is in, close the socket by pushing back the clamps with your thumbnails firmly. Then insert the SD card adapter into the SD card slot of the Raspberry Pi. Repeat the same process for the USB port adapter. Open up the clamps using 2 hands. Insert the ribbon cable with the blue strip facing downwards. Push in the cable gently, then close the clamps using both hands. Insert the USB adapter into the USB port of the Raspberry Pi. Next, find the SD card cover, remove the protective tape and stick it onto the SD card reader like this. Now get 2 of the flathead M3 screws and push them through the thermal strip on the bottom of the case. Fix them in place firmly, and with that, the bottom part of the case is done. Now, take out the control board and remove the nuts and rings from the encoders. You won't need those. Then, get the screen and remove the 4 yellow foils from the 4 outer spacers. Now, place the screen on the board like this and fix it in place with 4 M2.5 screws so you can see the display cable port through that hole in the PCB, like this. Also, remove that first plastic sheet from the screen. Now open the clamps of the control ribbon port and push in the cable gently. Once again, the blue strip needs to be facing downwards. Then close the clamps using both hands. Now put 8 brass spacers into place and secure them with 8 M3 screws. There are only 8 empty holes left in the PCB at this point, and that's where those spacers need to go. Next, attach the keypad to the PCB like this. Then lower the upper part of the case onto the control board like this and fix it in place using 8 M3 screws. Be careful you didn't remove the screen protector yet. Fold it gently so it'll slip through. Now connect the display ribbon cable to the display using the same technique as before. Connect the control ribbon cable to the control port found on the lower PCB. Then slowly lower the upper part of the case onto the lower part of the case, carefully avoiding the cables get stuck in between. You can then secure the case using the remaining M3 screws. Last but not least, place the caps onto the encoders and fix them using those tiny M3 headless screws. And with that, congratulations, the hardware assembly is now finished. Only one thing left to do now.
Get down, baby, get down. Right on, get down.
So, what exactly is Zynthian? In simple terms, it's a hardware plugin host plus sequencer with up to 16 tracks running individual chains of audio plugins each. It comes pre-installed with over 50 plugins, both open source and commercial. You can add your own plugins as well, but given it's running on an ARM CPU-based Linux, chances are you won't be able to install your favorite Windows plugin. All in all, Archi's MPC-1, which is also a Linux computer at its heart, is in many ways comparable to Zynthian and what it tries to achieve. You can see them here side by side. Zynthian version 5 is much smaller, which in my eyes is a great thing. As you've seen in the first part of this video, Zynthian comes with big bright capacitive touchscreen, 4 encoders and 20 rubber pad buttons. On the back there's a full set of DIN MIDI ports, a collection of USB ports, a power socket, stereo audio in and out, and a headphone jack and a network connector. There's also an SD card slot on the side to store the operating system on. Installing the operating system is fairly easy. Go to zynthian.org, click on Basics, Software, download SD image. Then use an SD card imager like Etcher to write it to an SD card. Pop the card into the Zynthian hardware and turn it on. First boot will take a little bit longer because the system is making some adjustments, but after that the instrument is ready to use within a few seconds. If you're using the official hardware, there's no need to make additional setup adjustments. Before I start playing some sounds, a brief introduction to the most basic user interactions on Zynthian. You will find yourself using a combination of button presses, screen interactions and rotary encoder presses when working on this box. Once booted, you'll be on the mixer screen. Press the upper left button now and you can add a synth chain. A chain is what Zynthian calls the stack of plugins you place on one track. When I grew up, the question everyone asked whenever a new synth came out was, how does the piano sound? So let's start with the piano tag plugin here. Use the bottom right encoder to scroll through that list and then push it to select the plugin. And here's how it sounds. and has 3 different button presses: normal, medium and long. The length of these can be configured on its setup screen, so touching the track on the mixer screen for a bit longer leads you to the track setup screen, from where you can go to the patch selection screen. You can also push the control and preset button to go there immediately. Here's one of the felt pianos. On the track setup screen, you can also add effects plugins to your track. There's a truckload of them pre-installed. Let's add a big reverb to this felt piano. By this time in the video, you've probably heard enough of my talking, so here's a segment of sounds only using the various plugins found on this box. One of the things you need to know about Zynthian is that it features Mod UI. This is a web interface that lets you create virtual pedal boards. To use it, add a special chain to your mixer and select Mod UI. Then, on another computer, point the web browser at zynthian.local:8888. There are hundreds of plugins for you to choose from here, and I'm going to plug in my electric guitar to Zynthian's audio input and first add a compressor to the board. Connect the pedal with the cables as you do in real life. Next on the chain is this amp simulator, which also comes with a number of cab setups. Here's the chorus effect. And the stereo delay pedal. Okay, so before I create a track, I want to do some sound design and create a pad sound. Press the admin button, then add a new synth chain, select the noisemaker plugin, put it on channel 1, then press the control and preset button until you've reached the patch setup screen. Default sound here is a pure saw wave. First let's bring up oscillator 2 and then lower the volume of the sub-oscillator. Now to tune the first oscillator slightly. Add a high-pass filter so our sound doesn't get muddy when playing chords. Adjust low-pass filter cutoff frequency and envelope strength. Increase the polyphony of the synth. Adjust the amp envelope. Adjust filter envelope. Add a stereo chorus effect. Finally, add some reverb. Go to the mixer screen, select your track, then select the plugin, and then you can save your creation to the disk. Oh, by the way, if you found this interesting, and if you want to see more on Zynthian in the future, please consider subscribing to my channel now. Seeing those subscriber numbers grow makes me happy and keeps me motivated to push out a new video every week or so. And if you want to support what I'm doing here financially, you can become a Patreon member, link is in this video's description, or join my YouTube channel using the button under this video. Thank you very much. Last but not least, let's take a look at the step sequencer. The idea here is that you create some patterns. Each pattern can be assigned to a MIDI channel or instrument, but can also belong to a group of patterns. And each pattern in one group can only be played exclusively. So once you select another pattern in one group, the current pattern will stop playing and the other one will start. We'll see that later. Here I'm creating a drum track by loading an instance of Linux sampler, which comes with some classic drum sounds pre-installed. Here's the Roland 808. Press the pad button twice and you can start entering drum notes onto a piano roll. Pressing the admin button here will show you some options. For example, we can make the pattern longer here and I'll extend it to 4 measures. The great thing about this sequencer is that everything can be done seamlessly. You can add or remove patterns and instruments while the sequence is looping without causing a hiccup. This is intuitive, musical and fun. Now I'll add a second MIDI track using the pad sound I created previously. Press record on the piano roll screen to record your playing live. And while the loop is playing back seamlessly, I'll add another instrument for playing the bass. Least I'll add an audio track which plays back a sample from a USB stick on keyboard or on the note in the piano roll. And this is the end of this video. Believe me, I only showed you a fraction of what this box can do. I didn't show you the live looper, the song arranger, the audio recorder, the pure data programming language and the administration interface, how to control external synths and record automation data and so much more. If you're interested in that, please leave a like and comment and I'll try to cover those topics in future videos. While recording this video, I discovered some things this box can't do that I feel I should mention. The sequencer can't swing, and it's not easily possible to set up sidechaining. I had the user interface freeze one time while the song was still playing. I also think it would be nice if it was possible to have a scrolling screen on the piano roll. The longer the patterns, the harder the editing gets. Reaching certain setup menus for synthesizers and audio tracks is sometimes needlessly complicated. Having a dedicated button for that would be so much nicer. But all in all, I think this is still the best open source groove box and I think it's priced competitively. If you don't mind building it yourself, this box does all the things necessary to create complete tracks with relative ease. The next best thing is the MPC-1, but that one is also way more expensive. Yeah, and that's it for today. Zynthian version 5. It really looks the part, and due to its abundance of internal plugins, it sounds the part. I have only minor nitpicks with it. All in all, I'd say the sequencer is the part that needs most attention by the developers now. It should be possible to make it groove and swing. Also, this box is not quite cheap, and you have to build it yourself. But all in all, this is a very capable box, one of the best open source groove boxes around, and certainly better than some of the commercial offerings in the same price bracket. So if you found this interesting or entertaining, please press the like button or subscribe to my channel. And as always, thanks for watching and see you again very soon. Bye bye.